guys, it's Lavetta.
And it's Miriam.
And this is the Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women.
Yes, it is. Hi, Lavetta.
I was just showing Miriam. Hi, Miriam. Did you like the video?
Oh, my God.
You?
She just showed me the funniest video.
Oh, my God.
Listen.
It was of the dog. I just love that the dog couldn't sing. That's what got me.
Well, okay, you guys, this video is like a Christmassy video, like of the holiday season. And usually by this point in January, I'm like, we're done. It's over. Talk to me again in November. But this is worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You guys have probably seen it. It's just a dog. It looks like a Chihuahua, maybe?
Yeah.
Or Chihuahua mixed or some kind. And this woman's holding the dog and she's singing Silent Night. And whoever did the voiceover, the dog is like, all right. And then starts singing terribly.
It was so funny. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I needed that.
I have to share. It's a little darker than that, but I have to share something with you.
Okay.
The other day, we were walking around and we ran into this very nice gentleman who had this beautiful dog. And my kids love dogs, you know. They're like, look, Mommy, this dog is so cute. I love the dog. I was like, okay, let's ask the nice man. You can, super nice. We're chatting, super sweet. Yeah, the dog loves kids. Anytime you want to pet the dog in the neighborhood. And I said, oh, is it? And my kid goes, I think it's a golden retriever. I said, oh, is it a golden retriever? He said, yes, it is. And I said, oh, and just golden retriever? He goes, pure blood. And I panicked a little.
Oh.
I was like,
oh, that's never good when a man or a person is like pure blood.
I don't.
That's not how blood works.
No, it's
and
not.
The use of pure sounds very Nazi-ish.
Yeah, right. I don't want to be like triggered, but triggered. I was like, oh, we have to go. Okay, bye.
That man does not deserve a dog if he's concerned that the dog has pure blood.
It really was. I was like,
wow, that poor dog.
Lord, I was like, wow, not expecting that word to come out of your mouth.
No,
you could say it's just a golden retriever. It's not mixed.
And a lot of times they'll say purebred, like, right? You know, that's usually the terminology.
That's not what he said.
Pure blood is
no, he said pure blood.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that is
with that sort of white supremacist smirk, you know? And then I left. It was fine.
A dog whistle about a dog. Only in America.
Right.
Yeah. That man don't deserve a dog. Somebody should take his dog. There should be a society in the world to go around and take people's dogs from them because they don't deserve the pure love of a dog. Now, that's the only instance you need to use pure is when you talk about a dog. Pure love.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. My kids would say that dogs should come to our house. And I would say I cannot afford the vet bills. But okay, I hear you.
Especially on a golden retriever. Oh,
that's what
I don't care. I said I want I don't know. I think I've told you. I'm kind of obsessed with mini schnauzers because they look like they have mustaches, beards, and bushy eyebrows. They kind of have human faces, and I'm kind of obsessed with them. But I don't really care. When you love dogs, I don't care if it's a mixed breed, pure. I don't care. I just like a doggy because they all doggies. They're all like...
I know. Yeah, I know. It's so cute. Like, even the ugly dogs are the cutest dogs, you know?
Oh, my God.
Even
if your dog has an attitude, tries to oversing you.
It's no different than your children. What?
Yeah, exactly. Well, on that note, I think we should get started.
Yes.
This is our, officially our first episode of the year. We took a little break, right?
Happy 2024. Pew, pew, pew. Yes, we're back.
I'm a little hesitant about celebrating the new year because every time I do that, shit goes down.
No. It's good. It's good. We're doing good. And I'm excited.
Yeah, everything's fine.
Everything is great. So great. Yeah. If you hit the T in great, like aggressively, it really convinces you. It's great. It's exhausting, but it's worth it.
It's great. Not
great.
Fine. Great. But you know what else is great? That we are back together.
Yes, we are.
And we're here to bring some more stories to our listeners. I still miss my grandma, and occasionally I will like sob, do the ugly cry in the randomly.
Ugly cries are so healthy. Ugly cry as much as you need, girl.
Thank you. But she, you know what? I'm going to hold on to the fact that she died at home, seemingly peacefully in her sleep. But I do miss my grandmama. Yeah. But I'm so glad I did Pam Grier. And by the way, Miriam, you are killing it on the social media.
Listen,
she's the one that's usually posting those things.
It is me. Thank you very much. Listen, I found you all go to Instagram. First of all, tell all your friends to also go to Instagram, follow. Yep. While you're telling your friends to go to Instagram, tell them to download Notorious Women podcast. Do us a favor. It's in the new year. You guys share our love with everyone. Thank you so much.
Always share. And what do we say? You copy the link of the podcast.
Copy the link.
And send it.
Yes.
Don't just tell them about it, because they'll be like, oh, yeah, that sounds really, really good. And then they'll forget. And then maybe they have to walk their dog. And maybe they'll have to punch some racist who has a dog.
It's
and proud of the fact the dog has pure blood. And they'll forget. They'll just forget.
Yeah, right.
So
it's very distracting. So you just gotta send it to put it on there, and then, but also go to the Insta, because if you listen to last week's episode or last month's episode, which if you didn't, just go back and listen to it, because it's amazing. I'm going to tout ourselves. And Lavetta has a very favorite line from Pam Grier, and I found it and I posted it. It's so good. I literally will watch that scene on our Instagram, like maybe a little bit over and over again.
Because it's a ridiculous scene. Blaxploitation films, our modern sensibilities. I mean, it's to our modern sensibilities, they seem ridiculous. But if you have a sense of humor, and I'm assuming if you listen to our podcast, you have a great sense of humor, you will get it. You'll get the joke. You don't need to write a think piece. It doesn't need to be think pieces made. No. Everything in blaxploitation films are probably politically incorrect at this point, but 100%. They are fun.
Yeah.
If you want to get your life, you need to watch a couple of them. Yes. So, because you're just like, I cannot believe that was a thing. But there's things going on today that we can't believe is a thing. So, which brings me to my notorious woman this week.
Let's go. Yeah. Yes.
I think we should get started. So my notorious woman this week, to bring us in, first episode of the new year, is Coretta Scott King.
What?
That's right.
I feel like bells should have gone off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like streamers running down. Yep.
Yeah. I was going to do Miss. She's amazing, which is the reason I'm doing her. She's a heroic, notorious woman.
Obviously.
But her name has been bandied about in the press, and I will get to that. But before that, let's get into her life and what makes her notorious and what makes her awesome. Coretta Scott King. So let's get into it. Coretta Scott King was born Coretta Scott on April 27th, 1927 in Marion, Alabama. Now, she was the third of four children of business owner Obadiah Obie Scott, who was born in 1899, and her mother, Bernice McMurray Scott, who was a bus driver, church pianist, and a partner in the family's business. Her mother was also a great singer. She had excellent musical talent and a beautiful singing voice. And she served as a worthy matron for the Eastern Star chapter of the local, and was a member of the local literacy federated club. Basically, Coretta's like, my mother was like, she was the woman. She was that girl. Yeah. So, again, the family they were solidly middle class. And Coretta's father, Obi, he went by the name of Obi, was the first Black man in town to own a vehicle, actually.
Oh, wow. Can I say I love the name Obadiah? Yeah, I could.
Obadiah.
That's a great name.
That is very old school.
Very. Yeah. Love it.
And then now before he started his several businesses, he worked as a policeman. They had several businesses, but one of the ones that Coretta remembers mostly is the clothing shop that they started out of the home, and then they later opened up a general store.
Okay.
But Obadiah Obi also owned a lumber mill before that, which was, or around that time, actually, because he was, he was a businessman. He was a businessman. So he had many different, it was like, we got to diversify. What did they tell you to diversify your portfolio? So to create wealth, you have to diversify. So Obi was doing the do, he was like they would be considered a very upstanding, respectful Black family.
I think it's interesting that he was a police officer.
Mm-hmm. But back then, Black policemen were usually in Black neighborhoods. The conflict didn't start until they started bringing white police officers in Black neighborhoods.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
In Harlem, on Central Avenue, in Los Angeles, all of that, the Black neighborhoods were run by Black policemen. Were worked by then. Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay.
Yeah. Now, again, the mother worked as a bus driver. She had her own kinds of things going on because, they have 4 children. So
she's
children
busy.
ain't cheap.
No.
She's busy.
They're expensive.
And it just shows you that Coretta grew up watching a woman have her own money, work, and be independent, while also being a wonderful singer and being a devoted wife, mother, and church member. They were very upstanding. Now, again, the family owned a lumber mill. So her father owned a lumber mill, but when a white neighbor wanted to buy it, probably at something that it was not worth, Obadiah's like, no. So they burned it down along with the family's home.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
This is what Black people have to put up with. We're on hostile ground, people. Mm-hmm. We're on hostile ground in this country. So this would be, if she was born in 27, this would probably be in the 30s and the 40s. Yeah. Now, in the 30s, during the Depression, that thing is the Depression. So even though the family owned a farm since the Civil War, so the family had land.
Right. They
were not like wealthy, which is why Obi and Bernice were trying to figure out how to make a living. Right.
Right.
But during the Depression, everybody was suffering. So the parent, along with the children, had to work in manual labor to earn money for the family. Because keep in mind, if you guys remember, the Depression, the funds that were originally slated for American people, Black people did not qualify for those funds at first.
They didn't qualify, Lavetta, because they were Black. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just want to clarify.
Yeah.
So that happened, but generally speaking, the family were considered pretty middle class, and especially after the Great Depression, began to pass, and they got a little bit more stability. So,
like, you have to diversify because you don't know which white person's going to burn what business down. Come on, man.
Yep. And people forget, like, if your business is burned down, they didn't have insurance back then.
No,
like,
it was just gone.
It's just gone. So now, especially they weren't giving insurance policies to Black people for their businesses. Yeah. Now, if you were a white person, you probably could get some insurance on your business, but not as a Black person.
No.
Now back to Coretta's childhood. So growing up, she described herself as a tomboy. And I actually, before I forget, some of my sources come from a YouTube channel called Visionary Project, another YouTube channel called Academy of Achievement, an NBC article from Shar Adams, among many, many other sources. But those are my main sources for today's story. Now, in one of the interviews I watched, she was talking about how she was a tomboy, she loved climbing trees and wrestling her cousins and boys, and she said she would fight. She was like, I would I would fight. I would fight anybody. And once she was playing around, roughhousing with a male cousin, and he was coming towards her. They were playing, and she had an axe in her hand. And he came towards her, and she hit him, and it broke the skin. So obviously his mother, and it started to bleed. And of course his mother was upset. And she was like, I'm going to put you in jail. I'm going to call because she would just fight. She was like, I was just so but I love that because even at that young age, she had that fight in her.
Yeah.
That sense of fight, But eventually her siblings and family members were like, that's not ladylike. But B, if you're so mean all the time, if you're fighting people, you won't have any friends. And so she's
that's
like,
very
I want
true.
Friends. So little Coretta's like, well, I want friends. So she decided to stop fighting people and become a little bit more ladylike. And which is ironic that she was known as a fighter as a very young kid because she would be known with, be synonymous with the nonviolent movement.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. But listen, there's many ways to get your rage out. And sometimes it's a nonviolent way. But, listen, born with rage. I get it.
She basically just described me as a 5 or 6 year old because I would fight you. I would fight a boy. I'd pop him in the face. I'd wrestle him. I'd put him in a headlock. And my mother used to be like, what is wrong with you? That's not ladylike. You're supposed to be a young lady. I'm like, I just want to climb trees and ride dirt bikes. That's all I wanted to do. And so, but it's so interesting. I think that's probably a common experience for little girls, especially if you grow up in the South in the country. Because she was like, in the South, there's a lot of space, and when you're out in the country, kids can always figure out how to have fun.
Listen,
So.
I will say this. My kids, their friends, they love to battle. They love and they get into it. And you have to now it's modern parenting is more you can't touch each other. It's I have to pretend. But do they have pretend weapons? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not admitting anything because I would never encourage that. So I've said nothing. Move on. Stop looking at me.
I think you kind of, I also think that's where kids build self-esteem. I mean, you have to watch over them. I mean, because if one has an axe, you have to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where'd you
the
get an
axe is maybe,
axe?
put that down. Yeah.
Yeah, put that down. But you kind of have to let them go at it. It's like watching young, even though humans are not animals, but I was just watching the cutest video of I think it was a baby tiger. Or baby tigers play fighting, you'll watch them play fighting and they're like, "Arr!" And it's kind of reminds me of that of really young kids. But despite all of that, she actually made a conscious effort, I'm going to be more ladylike and stop trying to beat up everybody. So,
right. So she wanted friends. I get it.
She wanted friends. So in high school, she excelled at not only academics, but she became a leading soprano for the school's chorus.
Okay.
She also directed the choir at her home church in North Perry County, and eventually graduated valedictorian from Lincoln Normal School in 1945. The end.
Someone is
World
very
War II.
smart. Wow.
Yeah. And in school, she also played the trumpet and the piano, and she participated in the school musicals, all while taking college classes at Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, nearby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was, and also around this time, you've seen pictures of her. She was a very, if she wanted to become ladylike and more poised, she succeeded because she was a very attractive young lady at this time, and then became a singer. Now, in one of the interviews, she also said that she had a teacher. It was a Black female teacher who was a singer, and she introduced them to the classics. And she was so impressed with this lady because not only did she have this beautiful voice, but she also played the piano, and it really inspired her. And she's like, I wanted to be just like her. So it really got her into music and singing on a classical level. So now,
that's intense.
After high school, she she started studying music and education at Antioch College. So after high school, she went to Antioch College, and she studied music with Walter Anderson, the first non-white chair of an academic department in a historically white college. She also became politically active. Again, that fire. She needed somewhere to put that fire, right? And she was experiencing her own experiences of racial discrimination by the local school board because she was studying education, and they were making it harder for the Black students. She couldn't complete some of her requirements because they wouldn't do that for the Black students. But it's like, well, how am I supposed to get my hours of training and complete my education if you're not allowing Black students to do that?
Oh, they're like, you know what? We let you in the first place and we're willing to take your money. But outside of that, we're not going to prepare you for the world. Thanks.
Yeah. She just, the entire time she was there, she had to continue. She had to fight to just continue her education because they were like, oh, well, we don't admit. And it's like, well, why you admit Black students if you're not going to let them take the classes that they need to anyway?
Because they'll take their money. That's why.
Yes.
And they want to be able to say, oh, no. We're the good white people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's lip service. It's lip service.
It's lip service.
She also joined the Antioch chapter of the NAACP and the college's race relations and civil liberties community. So she was a very active rights for fighting for rights, not only because of her own experience, but experience of her family members, people around her, people in her community. And she already had a strong sense of justice, but it really was, intensified while in college. Now, side note, around this time, while going to school, she worked as a babysitter for the Lithgow family and babysat actor John Lithgow.
What?
Yeah.
What? I don't know what you just said.
That's crazy.
Oh my God. So he owes her everything. That's what I just heard.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's what you heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Now, thankfully, she eventually got out of Antioch. She graduated and won a scholarship to the New England Conservatory of Music in Boston to study voice.
Okay.
Now, of her time at the conservatory, she said that she felt like it was just where she's supposed to be. And also because she got in, and so she was on her way to there when she got news that she actually got a scholarship, because she was just going to go there and try and figure out a way to make it happen, because the people at Antioch were getting on her nerves. And this is where she wanted to be. It's, it's a very prestigious university, conservatory. So, but on the way there, because back then we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, people just left a message at the house.
Yep.
But when she heard about the scholarship, she was so excited because for the first time, instead of babysitting, doing all this other stuff, she could really focus on her interest in music, on voice, and just studying.
Yeah.
So she's very happy about that. Now, while studying at the conservatory in Boston, she met a graduate theology student at Boston University by the name of Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, he sounds familiar.
Now, a friend gave Martin her number after he asked about the girls on campus, because he probably got there and was like, where the Black girls at? Like, what are we doing? Even though we know that Martin Luther King famously were dating white women as well. And his parents are like, no, that's not going to happen.
Can I tell you?
Because they will kill you. They will kill you dead.
I had a daydream in college that when they made the movie of Martin Luther King, I would play the white girl he fell in love with. I would reenact. I was ready.
He was a handsome man.
I was very obsessed with Martin Luther King since I was like a little kid. So
well, I mean, I guess that's a good person to be obsessed with. But Martin liked the ladies, so he probably got there and was like, where the ladies at? So a friend of his, a mutual friend, gave him her number. And initially she was like, I don't know about all this. I'm busy with my stuff.
Yeah.
I'm busy. Listen, I ain't even got time for men. Okay. These boys. Coretta's like, I'm about that business. I'm going to be a singer. I don't have time for boys. No, seriously, her sister was like, she didn't have time for boys. She was just like focused on her career, on her studies, but she agreed to go out with him. And so when she met him,
I love that. I love that story. Okay, fine.
They talked on the phone first, and then when she met him in person, she was surprised at how short he was. I love he shows up. She's like, all right, but he's a little short.
I mean, like, I could do better, but I guess you could buy me dinner.
So now when he met her, though, again, she's this, and a lot of people want to evoke Coretta Scott King because she looks like, in the Black community, that is, she's this light-skinned, very beautiful, poised kind of woman, right?
She's
and they put these qualities on her that she may or may not have just by the way she looks. Okay.
Yeah.
But she is, and she's a stunner. Like, but light skin, dark skin, Miss Coretta Scott King was a stunner. Like, yeah. So she was a stunner, and so he told her, he put the game on it. He was like, "Look here, girl. You have all the qualities that I need in a wife." Okay, and she's like, "Slow your roll, player. Slow your roll." Okay,
that's right.
You don't even know me like that. He's putting the game on hard. He was like, okay. She's like, a singer? Oh, okay. You know,
she's like, I'm basically famous. You have to earn this.
Yeah, she's like, slow your roll. So after their first date, he was like, "Can I see you again?" She's like, maybe. No. She said she liked him after they started talking and things like that. So they went to a party. Now the two began dating regularly after that. And in the early months of 1952, she apparently 2 weeks after meeting Coretta, Martin wrote to his mother and he was like, "I met my wife."
Wow.
And his parents are probably like, imagine your child comes home, writes to you, is like, "I met my wife." She's like, slow your roll, player.
I'm already rolling my eyes for when my children pull this shit on me.
Yeah. Now, during their relationship, though, again, it was Coretta, because Coretta had that experience of her family, of her home, and her parents' business being burned down. You know, her grandparents had to deal with the same thing. She really was into like political and racial justice.
Yeah.
And she really got him fired up. You know, Martin was, by all accounts, from an upper class family. He was a Black man studying for his PhD, which was studying for a PhD is still unusual today, but especially in the 1950s. And he had a legacy. He came from a very prominent Atlanta family, and he had a legacy, and he had the pressures of that. So his parents are like, that's why they were like, "You cannot be dating some white girl," not because necessarily we're against that, it's because they will kill you.
Yeah.
They will kill you.
No, they're right.
So, no. And they also had very high expectations for him. Now, of course, Coretta's being a 10 that she was, a bad one, a bad bitch. I don't want to call her a bitch, but in the loving term, she was a bad one. She was a bad mamma jamma. That's an old term from the 80s from a song, but she was a bad mamma jamma.
I hear you.
She had a lot of men that were interested in her too. So, but I think when she got to know him and they got to spend actually quality time together and she realized he was a man of substance, she actually told her sister, who was like, she didn't really think about guys that much. She was just sort of, her sister Edith was like, she didn't really talk about guys. She had relationships, but she wasn't really boy crazy. She was focused on herself. She actually began to like him and she told her sister. And once she did that, her sister was like, "Oh, I think she really likes him. I think that this is something that's solid." Now, her hesitation at dating him and getting serious was because she realized that, you know, with his family expectations, if they were eventually going to be married, she would probably have to put her professional singing career on hold.
Yeah.
And so that was something she thought long and hard about, but she actually liked him. She just found him. She said he also had the qualities that she liked in a man, and he had substance. And so, you know, now, interestingly enough, like, again, Miss Coretta Scott King was a bad mamma jamma. She's smart. She's principled. She is of substance. She's beautiful. She's educated. I mean, if my son brought home a woman like that, I'd be like, yeah, a young lady like that.
No,
yeah.
That's fine.
Not Martin's parents. Nope.
What?
Martin's parents were like,
no, are you kidding? That's like on all
we don't
that's
know
on the
about
list.
all of this.
What? What's wrong?
I have a feeling, I don't know if it's true. I have a feeling they may in their mind had a type of woman for him that Coretta did not match. I don't know how she could not have matched it because she seems obvious to us, but I wonder maybe they wanted somebody in town in the Atlanta, like elite, other Black elite people, if they had a young woman in mind, you know?
I was going to say, based on my watching of The Gilded Age, that they might have had a specific, like I learned a lot. Like that was a history documentary, right? Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know everything now. I'm smarter than everybody. But I could see that there was like one or two women that they'd been eyeing for probably years, possibly. Like this is a good match. But that's ridiculous because she's amazing.
She's amazing. I also think maybe they had heard a lot about her. So when they met her, they were sort of like, I don't know about this. But then apparently they kind of grilled her when they met her.
Really?
And the father was like, Martin Sr. was like, well, he has a lot to offer. And she quipped back, well, I have a lot to offer as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think they were also kind of vetting her because his parents would have grown up in during the Gilded Age, actually.
Yeah.
So some of and these are well-off Black people, so they had some sort of, they wanted to know who her quote people were. So they actually met with her older sister Edith. And they kind of pulled the same thing, like, well, we don't know if she's good enough for him. And, for her to pull Martin as a husband, it's, good for her. And Edith was like, well, Coretta's a good catch for Martin. So don't get it twisted. OK.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good sister. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whatever it was, the two, I think also they may have been concerned that she would distract him from getting his doctorate. And which was very, very important in achieving the things that they had set out for him. Because by all accounts, Martin Luther King Jr.'s parents were very strong influences, both his mother and his father. So I think that may have been, and I love how Coretta and her sister were like, don't get it twisted. I'm a catch. So yeah.
I love that.
Whatever happened, they worked it out because the two married on June 18th, 1953.
Okay.
Now, side note, Coretta had the vow to, quote, obey her husband removed from the ceremony, which was unusual
my queen.
at the time.
Listen, that's all you need to say. Like, you could stop now. She is a hero.
Yep.
That's right. 1953, I will not obey anyone.
No.
Mm-mm.
Exactly.
That's right.
So now, after completing her degree at the conservatory, she and Martin moved to Montgomery, Alabama in 1954. Now, of that time, she recalled, quote, after we married, we moved to Montgomery, Alabama, where my husband had accepted an invitation to be the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church.
Right.
Before long, we found ourselves in the middle of the Montgomery bus boycott.
Yes.
And Martin was elected leader of the protest movement. As the boycott continued, I had a growing sense that I was involved in something so much greater than myself, something of profound historic importance. I came to the realization that we had been thrust into the forefront of a movement to liberate oppressed people, not only in Montgomery, but also throughout our country, and this movement had worldwide implications. I felt blessed to have been called to be a part of such a noble and historic cause, end quote.
It's amazing. She's amazing.
And this is the perfect kind of partner to have, because this is a woman who has her own strong sense of self, but also had the fact that she had the question in her mind, like, I'm going to probably have to give up my singing aspirations, music aspirations to be a proper wife, right, to a minister. The fact that she even had that inclination means that he was very, very lucky to have her. Okay.
Well, I think I hope his parents recognize. Okay, I'm still mad at them.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, We all
Maybe
make
not.
mistakes. Now, the couple moved to the church's parsonage, and they settled quickly into the new life. She taught, she was a member of the choir and taught Sunday school, as well as participated in the Baptist Training Union and Missionary Society.
Okay.
They also began having children. Eventually, they would have
Yes.
4 children: Yolanda, Martin, Dexter, and Bernice. All
Yes.
four children would later follow in their parents' civil rights footsteps and become activists. But fresh into the marriage, and again, this is a strikingly gorgeous young couple. Like, look up like Coretta and Martin in like 1954. Like, you're just like, wow, that looks like a movie star couple. Like,
Yeah,
gorgeous.
they do. They look like a movie star couple.
Yeah, and again, they were thrust in the as sort of like the poster children, Martin especially, for and the voice of the Montgomery bus boycott and social protest. And now, the Montgomery bus boycott was a social protest campaign against the policy of racial discrimination on the public transit system of Montgomery, Alabama.
Right.
It lasted for over a year. So it lasted between 55 and 56, 1955 and 1956. And basically, there's always a bunch of people in a movement who are working behind the scenes. But, because this young, minister who has his doctorate and has his beautiful young wife and this beautiful young family, it was just like, it's like Black Camelot, as they love to say about the Kennedy. So now during this time, Coretta, she jumped into it. She's balancing motherhood, being a wife, and an activist in her own right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
That's
she
crazy.
also had to endure numerous credible threats, physical threats to her family, including a bombing attempt at the home in 1956.
Yeah, I remember
Okay. And again, this is a young girl whose family's house was burned down along with the family's business.
Right.
When she's very young.
That's right.
So also in 1958, Martin was on a nationwide, he was already a nationwide figure, and he was arrested for political activism and then stabbed while signing copies of his book, Stride Toward Freedom, on September 20th, 1958. So she had to contend with that. She rushed to his side, of course. In 1959, Coretta and Martin along with Lawrence D. Reddick, went on a 5-week tour of India.
Oh.
The 3 were invited to hundreds of engagements. During their trip, she used her singing ability to get the crowds excited about the cause and about what they were facing back in the United States. It was a month-long stay.
That's amazing.
I know. When he got back in 1960, he was jailed again. But by this time, she had some very powerful help and an ally in Robert Kennedy, who, after
Right.
Martin was arrested in 1960, he called her and said, quote, "I want to express my concern about your husband. I know this must be very hard on you. I understand you're expecting a baby, and I just want you to know that I was thinking about you and Dr. King. If there's anything I can do, please feel free to call on me," end quote. And apparently, he reached out. She said, "I need this." He reached out. He helped them. And then she said to the press later on, quote, "It made me feel good that he called me personally and let me know how he felt," end quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the goodwill for Robert wouldn't always extend to JFK. It wouldn't be as warm as that.
Yeah.
But, Coretta and Martin often understood the precarious predicament that JFK, who was the first Catholic president, was under. He had to sort of balance like, oh, you're Courtney. Like, people don't realize like it was a big deal when he became president, JFK, because he was the first Catholic
he broke
president.
Like such massive barriers by being a different kind of Christian. Like, my God, you guys, a different kind of white cisgendered, still Christian, just not.
But there's
Christian.
some pushback on JFK. I mean, and then he was killed. So there's that.
I mean, but that's why this country is so many levels of fucked up. I mean,
so they understood, because they understood the thing about them. Coretta Scott King, along with Martin Luther King Jr., obviously, were very sophisticated activists and leaders, political leaders, because they understood that you can't always ask up front. You have to be nuanced. You have to be strategic. Yeah. You have to push people. You have to kind of like push people gently, right? But they also, again, understood that JFK had his own set of, challenges that he was trying to navigate and balance as well. Now, throughout the civil rights movement, which spanned many decades, people don't realize that, but especially after they joined in the 50s, the Kings would be at the front and center of the one that we think of as the main civil rights movement that was sort of kicked off with the Montgomery bus boycott.
Right.
Now, Coretta was not just a beautiful piece of arm candy. She was a powerful woman and a passionate activist in her own right. Having known Bayard Rustin, the leading figure and organizer of the March on Washington as a child, by the time she and Martin met in college, she had already developed a strong sense of justice and activism.
Yeah.
And she felt that it must be acted on. But she understood the power of image and of using the press in the fight for equality. And she used her presence. She understood that she was a pretty light-skinned woman and how that looked. And her husband was a handsome chocolate man. She understood how that looked.
Right.
And one of the ways she strategized on that image and the positivity of their image together during the movement, she often put on freedom concerts that would help raise money for the cause, but also spread awareness about the movement.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. Which is why the FBI, these fuckers. So the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, we should say. Now, they were involved in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They were involved in all kinds of things to undermine the fight for liberation, for civil rights for Black people,
for
gay people, all kinds of people.
Ugh.
Decades Hoover was in charge. So he began to sow dissent. And he tried to do that because he had Martin under surveillance, of course. And so what he did was when they had heard that, he traveled a lot, Martin traveled a lot. And that unfortunately was a lot of cause of their internal strife within the relationship because he was gone a lot and she was left at home a lot with the kids. And she just wanted, and she loved her husband. So she wanted to spend quality time with him.
Yeah.
So they knew that Martin is no secret now that Martin had a roaming eye.
Yeah.
And so when he was away from his family, he often was in the company of other women. Yeah. So because the FBI was hounding him and recording everything that they could on him, they had recordings of him with other women on the phone, So
I just never understood, he's not, y'all. I do understand, but anyways, land of the free, home of the brave, but ass is what I have to say about that. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this is what they're trying to say is happening now. No, it was happening then.
It was, of course, happening then. Yes.
Yeah. So now Coretta often sorted the mail, at home, and which they got this intel by because they're spying on them. So they came up with the scheme. Basically, they would send her recordings of him with other women because they knew she would open it and probably listen to it. Right. She did. And she immediately called her husband. And it gave, obviously they were like, here we go. It's going to ruin his marriage. Here we go. We're going to, make this man obsolete. He's going to be tired with women's problems. Right. And she eventually played the tapes in the presence of Martin, along with Andrew Young, Ralph Abernathy, and Joseph Lowry. Now, publicly, she would say, quote, I couldn't make much out of it. It was just a little mumbo jumbo, end quote. But we all know what was probably going on behind the scenes. I personally would have probably strangled Martin in front of his friends, and they'd be like, "The bitch is crazy," because I got issues. And also, this is a girl who used an axe when she was little.
Yeah, she's
against her cousin.
Yeah,
oh boy. So, Coretta got some fire. Martin,
Yes,
I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but maybe she tried to strangle him. I don't know. Yeah. So that it failed, and again, we don't really know exactly what happened. We can only guess,
right.
because it's public humiliation. It's or they're trying to make it public, but also she understood what the FBI was trying to do in sending the recordings.
I
so again,
think
this is a very
she made
educated
the choice for the greater good of humanity, as opposed to what she really wanted to do to him. That's what I think happened. Good on her. Yeah. That's not an easy choice to make.
So after probably allegedly maybe taking her hands from around his neck as he's convulsing on the floor after almost trying to strangle her husband, she got up and probably smoothed her skirt and her hair, and she went back to doing the business of the civil rights movement. She would be instrumental, as well as she and many other people, including Martin, in helping to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In 1968, she also found the Martin Luther King Center for Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta. She was also a great moderator for Martin. She was a great supporter with other leaders. Malcolm X apparently spoke with her days before his own assassination, and he assured her that he was not in Alabama to make trouble for her husband, but instead to make white people have more appreciation for King's nonviolent protests, seeing the alternative. Because Malcolm's like, listen, they can get with this or they can get with that. So, which I think is really funny. Now, she also criticized the sexism in the civil rights movement, which there was a lot. In January of 1966, in New Lady magazine, she said, quote, "Not enough attention has been focused on the roles played by women in the struggle. By and large, men have formed the leadership in the civil rights struggle, but women have been the backbone of the whole civil rights movement." End quote. She also participated in the Women's Strike for Peace and Protest in 1968 in the capital of Washington, D.C., with over 5,000 women. Wow. In honor of the first woman elected to the House of Representatives, the group was called the Janet Rankin Brigade.
Nice.
She also co-chaired the Congress of Women Conference with Pearl Willem and Mary Clark. Every step of the way, she was beside Martin, but she was also doing the same amount of work in the civil rights movement, but in other movements as well. And she was a powerful and strong advocate for women's voices in the movement.
She's a hero.
Now, this woman is extraordinary. Martin was really lucky to get this woman.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that on April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
The following day, she arrived in Memphis to retrieve his body, and she decided that the casket should be kept open during the funeral with the hope that their children would realize upon seeing his body that he would not be coming home. Now, after the shock and the numerous uprisings, because there were a lot of quote unquote riots, I would call them uprisings in response to him being killed.
That's what it was.
She continued her work. Just days after his death, she spoke at Ebenezer Baptist Church and made her first statement on his views since he had died. She said that her husband told their children, quote, "If a man had nothing that was worth dying for, then he was not fit to live," end quote. Oh. So she just continued the work. Not long after the assassination, she took part in a peace rally in New York City, and she used the notes he had written, because he was supposed to be at the peace rally, but she took his place. So she showed up in his stead. And did the speech in his stead. She, like I said, this woman was amazing. She after the assassination, she actually got a second win almost. She, protested against the Vietnam War.
Nice.
She continued to support women's rights, LGBTQ rights, economic rights, world peace, and various other causes. In 1969, she and her daughter, she and Bernita Burnett left for India again. Before arriving in the country, the two had stopped in Verona, Italy, and the king awarded her the Universal Love Award.
Oh.
And she became the first non-Italian to receive the award. She also traveled to London. So she went around and just traveled around keeping the word up and keeping the message up. She, like I said, she founded the Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta. She became the president and CEO. She also, every year after the assassination of Martin, she would attend a commemorative service at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta.
Oh.
She basically just became an extension. She carried on the work. And she did say of the FBI, because after Martin died, they started following her.
Oh my God! Of course they did.
They started following her, and she said later on that she was like,
problems. Like, can the FBI deal with actual problems? Like, I watched.
Well, she's an angry. Oh, she has melanin, so she obviously must be an angry black woman. She's going to do something that an angry black woman would do.
Listen,
obviously, so you have to watch her.
I almost forgot. Why go after actual criminals? Okay. Yeah.
No. Now, later on, it's so funny, the FBI, because she wrote a memoir, of course. She became an author. They wrote, quote, they studied her memoir and concluded that she would, quote, was a selfless, magnanimous, decorous attitude is belied by, quote, actual shrewd, calculating, business-like activities, end quote.
Oh my God, J. Edgar. Seriously,
she has
find
a brain.
A hobby. I don't know, maybe golf. White men love golf. Go to there. Jesus Christ.
Got a hound oppressed people.
Yeah.
Now, in 1969, she also established an annual Coretta Scott King Award to honor African-American authors of outstanding texts for children. And in 1979, a similar award was added to honor outstanding African-American illustrators. And this gets me to when I was a little kid. I used to go to my elementary library because I was a big old nerd.
Yes, you
and
were.
they had these like kids books on like political leaders and public figures. And I would read the Coretta Scott King one over and over and over and over again. As well as the Helen Keller one, as well as like, Harriet Tubman. Like, I used to read all of these over, and it just reminds me of that. Like, it's important the young people to. And I thought she was so cool and so brave, and I was not wrong because as an adult, I think she's even more cool. So. She also fought for years to make it a national, Martin's birthday, a national holiday, which was finally successful in 1986. And that is why we have MLK Day, which is coming up as a federal holiday.
The time of this podcast, we just passed it. But yeah.
Yep, it's coming. Yep, it's coming up. So in 1983, she also endorsed Jesse Jackson for president against Ronald Reagan. And she also dismissed the claim that Martin would have become a presidential candidate. She's like, nah, that's not something he was interested in. She, in addition to fighting for women's rights and LGBTQ rights, she also took part in the fight against apartheid. And on June 26, 1985, she was arrested along with her daughter, Bernice, and her son, Martin Jr., or Martin III, while taking part in a protest at the Embassy of South Africa in Washington, D.C. She also gifted her name to her alma mater, Antioch, which is interesting how she had so much problems there.
Yeah.
To create the Coretta Scott King Center as an experimental, I was trying to be fancy, learning resource to address issues of race, class, gender diversity, and social justice for the campus and the surrounding community. The center opened in 2007. Now, there was some kind of scary things after, because she's a widow at this point. During the 1990s, she was subjected to multiple break-ins at her home by a man by the name of Lyndon Fitzgerald Pace, who had admitted to killing many women in the area. He broke into the home once in the middle of the night and found her while she was sitting in her bed. So, yeah, after nearly 8 years of staying, after nearly 8 years after that of encountering this guy, just broke into her home, she finally moved to a condo, which was also a building that was also part-time for Elton John, Janet Jackson, and it was bought. The condo was bought by Oprah Winfrey.
Yes,
reportedly.
Oprah.
Now, in 2005, so she's just going. Since 1968, since the assassination, she's just going, working hard. And it's interesting because she continued to sacrifice because she knew that it was probably more fruitful for her to use her tireless energy and time towards this cause and these causes. But she said she always wanted, afterwards, after Martin died, to go back to her singing career and maybe release an album. The Freedom concerts, because she thought it would be a great historical a piece of material. But she said, when you're a singer, you need to rest. And she's like, I just never got time to rest. And she's like, this was back in 1997. She was saying this. And she's like, I just never really got time to do that because it was just always some work to be done. Right. So she just worked tirelessly. And in 2005, she began having some health challenges that eventually culminated in her death. So the death of the author, activist, civil rights leader, wife, and mother on January 30th, 2006 at the rehab center in Rosarito Beach, Mexico, at the Oasis Hospital. Now, apparently she was there undergoing therapy for a stroke and advanced stage ovarian cancer. The cause of her death was believed to be respiratory failure due to complications from ovarian cancer. But the clinic had some controversy around it because when they started looking, because obviously a figure like as important as her and prominent as her dies there, people are going to start looking closely. Yeah. And apparently the hospital, this place didn't have a license. They didn't have a license to do the things that they were doing. And they were illegally performing surgery, taking x-rays, performing lab work. So that's a whole separate thing, I'm sure, that could be. So check in on your loved ones. I've just had someone very dear to me pass away. So make sure you're checking on the medical care of your loved ones, particularly the older ones, even famous ones. Because again, this is a very famous, prominent woman. And so she passed away, like I said, on January 30th, 2006. Now her funeral was 8 hours long.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was at the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Lithonia, Georgia. And it was held on February 7th, 2006. Her daughter, Reverend Bernice King, delivered the eulogy. In attendance were U.S. Presidents George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, as well as the First Ladies, with the exception of Barbara Bush, who had a previous engagement. Senator and future President Barack Obama, along with Michelle, and other elected officials attended. It was televised, so you can look that up. Now, after her death, there was a memoir that was published called My Life, My Love, My Legacy in 2017. And it was based on 30 years of interviews that she had with Barbara Walters. Barbara Reynolds. Reynolds, I'm sorry. Now, more importantly, though, I just want to get to this, and I'm going to wrap it up here. Her legacy, the legacy of Coretta Scott King, is that it shows you that you can, even if you're standing beside a very powerful man or partner, you can also carve out your own contributions in life. Yeah. And you can become and be just as unforgettable and dynamic and have a legacy that is as long lasting as any man that you could be attached to. And And thank God in the modern world, we realize that. And people have, obviously she's always been a very compelling figure. So she has been portrayed by many different actresses and many different, TV, film, plays by on the Movement, on Martin, on Her. She was played by Cicely Tyson in a 1978 television series called King. Angela Bassett famously played her in a 2013 television movie about the relationship between Coretta Scott King and Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's
I didn't know that. I want to see that.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
Yes.
That was really, really good. And then she was played by Carmen Ejogo in the film Selma, directed by Ava DuVernay, and most recently by actress Cara Patterson in Rustin, the film that's on Netflix, which I highly, highly recommend. It's excellent. And finally, it brings me to the recent reason that Miss Coretta Scott King has been in the limelight, because like I said, she's a beautiful young woman. We all know she's very poised. She was an amazing woman. So some men have fixated on her for rightfully good reasons, including actor Jonathan Majors, who he's been making the rounds because recently he's been going through his own legal battles. So in an audio recording that was admitted during his trial recently, stemming from an altercation with his ex-girlfriend. Majors is heard telling his then girlfriend, who is white and British, by the way, that she needs to behave more like Coretta Scott King and former First Lady Michelle Obama.
What?
He need to be put in jail just for telling a white lady she need to be more like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama.
That's crime enough. That's crime enough.
She should have shot back like, I'm white. What are you talking about?
Excuse me?
Hillary Clinton, maybe? I don't know. I'm white. I should be compared to Hillary Clinton or Lady Bird Johnson. I don't know. But Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama is confusing me. And also I'm British. So this is very confusing.
Yes. But also, what do you want? You think I should lead the community to justice? What? What are you saying?
You know, she should have asked him. So, are you saying I need to wear blackface?
What about these women should I be?
She's been like, I feel like you're telling me I should wear blackface, and dude, that's not cool. Listen, I'm not doing that. Okay,
there's all sorts of problems with his life right now and choices he has made, allegedly or proven. I think it's I don't know. I'm just gonna say the word alleged so that we don't get in trouble.
Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble, but also, because he was convicted of some of the charges, and he's having his own battles. But also, in a recent GMA interview, he repeated the Coretta Scott King. So now he has a new girlfriend.
He said it again. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you're in a drunken stupor and you don't remember. You said it again. You meant it.
He's obsessed with Miss Coretta Scott King, and so his new girlfriend, actress Megan Good, who is a force within her own right. Again,
I don't know who she is.
He said in an interview that she is his Coretta. I think I have found her. That's a loose quote, but so again, now of course, he gonna get these jokes because it's like, are you obsessed? Somebody need to check Miss Coretta Scott King's tomb, because this man is obsessed with Miss Coretta Scott King.
What I'm saying is that he's like, you're the Coretta to my Martin Luther King Jr. But
he's an actor.
I know that. A problematic one, in fact. Can he not compare himself?
Also, I mean, listen, and I'm not saying that. I understand what he was trying to say. Basically, he's trying to say, I'm a great man. Yeah, he's saying, I'm a great man, so I need a great woman like Coretta Scott King. But it's like, you also saying that you Martin Luther the King Jr., as we say in the black community. Martin Luther the King, that's who you saying you are? No, player, we're not doing that. No.
You got to do a little bit more for the world in a positive way before you could start that journey towards being,
you just got here, dude. Like, I feel like if an actor could say that, that would be Denzel or Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
But they wouldn't say that. That's why they're great.
They wouldn't
they would
say
never
that.
say that.
The reason I'm hesitant is because they would be like, but I'm an actor and I didn't do what he did, which is very, very different from my life.
Yeah.
You know, good on him. You know, what he is. They would say that. If I'm not thinking of the right person.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Then he's got,
Yeah, I mean, one last thing. So, in response to Jonathan Majors invoking Coretta Scott King's name, yet again, her daughter, Reverend Bernice King, is not having it. She wrote recently in her post, quote, "My mother wasn't a prop." She goes on to say she was a peace advocate before she met my father and was instrumental in him speaking out against the Vietnam War. Please understand, my mama was a force, end quote. Yes. And she said it better than I can say it. So we're going to end on Bernice King's words about Coretta Scott King. So I'm sorry that was a little long, but Coretta Scott King, yeah.
I mean, our producers will yell at us, but I think it's fine.
I know. You're going to get it.
I know. No, but you can't because it's Coretta Scott King. We had to go there. We had to go all the places that she went. Oh my God, that was amazing. Right. Thank you so much. We need Coretta Scott King Day. I'm ready for another day off.
Yes,
I'm ready for another federal holiday off. Thank you.
Yes. Who's your notorious woman this week?
My notorious woman is a totally different journey we're going to go on. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. But okay, so I have like a vague connection to her. It's so vague. You'll see when we get there. Okay. That's why I'm inspired. So have you ever heard of a woman named Amy Trask?
Amy Trask. No.
Okay. So I got a lot of my info from NFL.com, Giants.com, ESPN, and some other things too. Okay. But okay, so we'll start. She was born in oh my God, I don't know where she was born. I didn't find it. Lies. Anyways, she grew up in Brentwood. She graduated from UC Berkeley in 1982. So she was born, about 24 years before that, right? 22 years before that, something like that. Okay. I swear I did research. I had to go all over the place to find stuff about her. So somehow the day of her birth evaded me. So she graduated from UC Berkeley in 1982 with a BA in political science. She became a fan of the Oakland Raiders while attending Berkeley, and she was a member of Phi Beta Kappa. Now, she grew up like loving football in a way that wasn't the most common thing for girls at the time. Her mom was an educator. Her dad was an aerospace engineer. They weren't all that into football, but her junior high had a whole like football program and like Friday Night Lights, that whole thing. And so she was really into it. A quote from her, she says, "Yes, it's a game of power and speed, but it's also a very cerebral game." Unquote. So she calls it an intellectual game of chess with speed and power. So also, as she's like kind of obsessing over this game, she was also a what one might call like a troublemaker, like a problem kid, like talk too much in class, because she just spoke her mind wherever she went, and she did not consider the place or time to be an issue of the words she said. But she did get good grades. She always got really, really good grades. So she became kind of obsessed with the team, the Raiders, right? The football team, which is, I think, interesting because when you think about Raiders fans, you're not thinking of this young intellectual woman who's analyzing the shit out of it, right? Based on the large trucks I drive past with Raiders stickers in the back seat. You know what I'm saying? She's not driving that. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying meatheads. Go ahead and say it. You say it. Meatheads.
Meatheads. That don't quote me.
Yeah.
And one of the things she loved about the Raiders is like she felt like their culture. They were in a culture of second chances, of letting people in who maybe wouldn't have been let in anywhere else.
Okay.
So she went to law school at USC, and it was around 1982. Like after she graduated from UC Berkeley. And that was when the Raiders moved to Los Angeles. So she interned for the team in 1983. She finished school and then stopped her internship, got a job at a law firm.
Okay.
In 1987, she went to work for the Raiders. Now, according to a friend of hers, so she does. In my research, she didn't ever want to tell the story. The way she got hired. So Al Davis was a very famous owner of the Raiders, and so he saw her work. So the team hired her law firm to do a thing. I don't know what that thing is. Anyways,
okay.
She was in a meeting like with him, and he said the friend says that she walks out of the meeting, and decided he needed to hire her. Was just like, I need her on my team. Now, fun fact about Al Davis is that I'm related to him. Like, he's my second cousin, third star from the right. I don't know. But yeah, no, I've never met him. Never met him.
Oh, one of those. Okay.
But I want to tell you a funny story because it's too funny not to tell you. So Al Davis, owner of the Raiders, right? So the family, my mom's dating my dad. It's on my dad's side. And, they're dating. And he said, I have a family bar mitzvah to go to, right? Won't be my date. Maybe they were just married or something like that. So I think it was more like, you don't take a date to a bar mitzvah.
Okay.
You go because you have no choice, right? But I think this was like we're going to this thing. And my mom had absolutely no idea. Because again, in our family, like, yes, it exists. And yes, he's like a cousin, but we don't really talk about it. And so she's sitting there and she's like, there are all these huge men at this Jewish celebration of a child's bar mitzvah. I spent the entire time staring at these like massive humans. I couldn't figure, and that's when she found out, Al owns the Raiders.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Again, never met. So Amy and Al Davis stayed very close for the rest of Al's life. He was always on her side. He always encouraged her and fought for her in a way that was like, that feels very Ted Lasso to me. Like I would see, like, I want to see this because Ted Lasso ended. So like, we need more. I'm throwing it out there. This is why I'm talking about her, because we need this movie. We need this series. I need a series.
I'm not a big Ted Lasso fan.
Listen, we can't be friends anymore. This is the last episode of Notorious Women Podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope
I shouldn't say I'm not a fan.
Had a great time with us. We were friends once.
I'm sorry. I'm not. It's not that I'm not a fan, but when I watch it, all I can think of is Gomer Pyle reboot.
I never watched Gomer Pyle. And that's the second reason that this is our last episode.
It's because you're not from the South, so you didn't watch it. It wasn't on repeat. Yeah. It's just like a simple American, like, he's like, and I'm like,
but everyone else. Did you watch the whole thing? No,
I started watching it, and I was like, I watched a couple episodes, and a friend of mine was like, I thought you'd be into it. I was like, this is clearly Gomer Pyle, except he's like, also I was annoyed by, because I'm an Anglophile, you know that. I was annoyed by it because it's like, this is an English person's, idea of what an American is, that we're just dumb. And we're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna kind of like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And I was like, no.
But he does like.
I know it gets better. I know it gets better.
So good. And like, there's a Christmas episode in the second season that's like the best Christmas episode of all time for all things, other than the Community season 3 episode 10. Also. Best episode.
It's the same issue I had with The Gilded Age the first season. I'm like,
but it's still good. I know.
I know. Maybe I'll revisit the second season. I heard the second season is very different. Because I was just like, why is he doing a country bumpkin? And that annoyed the hell out of me. I was like, being a Southerner, I'm like, we're not country bumpkins, but I digress.
You were very triggered. Okay.
I'm like, why is he doing a country bumpkin? We do not sound like that. Stop it. Well, and he's like, and we're over in the UK. I'm just here. I'm like, what is going on? What incarnation is going on here?
Listen, you just a what incarnation? Okay.
He's just foghorn leghorn the whole thing. Okay.
But it turns out he is very smart.
No, but I know it's very sweet.
Yeah,
I know.
It's so
I like
beautiful.
a sweet show. So I was just annoyed by the foghorn leghorn and Gomer Powell of it all.
Well, in our new version with Al Davis and Amy Trask, no one is from the South.
Okay, good. No bad Southern
I happen to know that Al Davis was born in New York. Okay.
Don't get me started on bad New York accents. I'm walking here. No, it's terrible. It's terrible.
I'm walking here. What are you doing? Stop. Do you want me to do the rest in a New York accent? Because I can.
I'm so sorry. I'm interrupting you. Go ahead,
Lavetta in so many ways right now. Oh my God. It's been too long. That's the problem.
Teresa's going to kill us because this is way too long.
Yeah, definitely. When we're dead, you guys.
Our producer's going to kill us. Sorry, Teresa.
We love you so much. All right, she's going to kill us for this comment also. So let's keep going. Okay. Yes. So she took a job in the legal department in 1987. She starts working. She immediately wanted to know everything from ticketing to accounting to the way the team handled the media, like every aspect of the company, which, it's basically a company. The many other workers there were not exactly thrilled that this woman was walking around trying to know everything about everybody. And who is she to know about football? But Al Davis encouraged her to do just that. He was like, yes, do that. So about 5 years into her job, he sent her to her first league meeting. So soon she was going toe to toe with owners. In 1997, she was named CEO. So,
wow.
Yes. And it's cute. I happen to know that we come from strong women. And like, that's why I'm like, I know why Al gave her this. Like, I feel very like when I was reading about her, I was like, yeah, because, these are very strong, brilliant women who were not given a chance because of their time and place and their gender, and so
and smart, strong women will make you money too,
and they'll make you money. You'll get more rich, y'all. Don't you want more money? Come on.
Don't you want more rich? I like more rich.
More rich.
More rich.
My kid asked me the other day. He's like, "Do you wish we were rich?" And I was like, unabashedly, yes. Like, I am not raising them properly. And they looked at me like, what really? Isn't love all that matters, Mom? Aren't you gonna?
You better tell that baby the truth. You better tell that baby the truth. Yes, more rich is good.
I was like, because it would give us more options and opportunities in life, and that's exactly. That's helpful. And then when we see something sad, we can donate money to help them. It's not like you're not an asshole for wanting to be rich, and what you do with your money definitely matters. But yeah. So I'm telling it like it is. But the shocked look of like, oh, did you just say that? I did.
Yep.
Okay. So this is just a fun, quick story. So she was relatively new in the NFL, like power circle, right? In the the big guns meeting, right? And according to an old Sports Illustrated article, she got into an argument with a former 49ers president. I won't say who it is. At a 1997 league meeting, she then refused to yield the floor, even after she was ordered to by a former NFL commissioner. She would not do it. So this is who this woman is. She's like, don't play with me. So later she found out sort of why. So Al Davis was someone who very much took chances on people. He was kind of known for that. The people who were deemed like, quote, problematic, right?
Okay. Okay.
And she jokes that since she's been problematic since she was a little kid, this made a lot of sense. So one of the coaches, Mike White, coached the Raiders from 1995 to 1996, says he had a tremendous amount of respect for her. She's a very intelligent lady. And because of those reasons, she was given a lot of responsibility. A lot of her male counterparts did welcome her with open arms. And she says that. She's like, many of them were welcoming and supported me. She's not trying to be a woman in football. She's just in football, you know, and it's like her issue. Not her issue. It's not her issue that she's a woman. It's other people's issues. In fact, Al Davis said the same thing. Like he was given credit for giving a woman a chance, and quote him, quote, nobody should get credit for doing the right thing. End quote. Yeah.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, ladies, like when your husband, like, I don't know, does the dishes or the laundry or like, you know, picks up the kid from school. It's not a favor. It's not a gift. It's just sharing the load. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Preaching to the choir. This is why I'm single still, because a lot of men don't want to do it. They want credit for it. They would be like, oh, baby. It's like, motherfucker, just...
I thank my husband for everything he does that he thanks me for.
Yeah, exactly. You have to definitely say thank you, but I'm not going to give you a gold statue for doing the dishes.
No, there is no award ceremony for folding laundry.
It's like, thank you, baby. Thank you for doing that. That was sweet. I love it.
I appreciate it. Appreciate that. Yep. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you continuing to do that for the rest of our lives.
And that goes both ways. So
yeah, it does. It really does. So her nickname became Princess of Darkness. Now,
I like this.
She got shit done, you know, and she got shit done the way she needed to get shit done. So what was great is that she fucking turned that shit around, because, you know, people were being dicks, and, you know, the patriarchy is going to patriarchy, but she was like, no, that sounds good. I'm the Princess of Darkness. So be afraid and do what I say. So she just owned it, and she's like proud of it. And I love that for her.
I love it.
So it's interesting because like that's what I have finding stuff on her. There's the culture of the Raiders is very like it's mysterious, it's aggressive, right? It's strong. And Al Davis stayed secretive about just how things were run, and she retained those secrets. And when he did pass, that's why I'm saying Ted Lasso, like she was like, I honor him forever. And she is a very similar beast. She is the same way. And it had been written that she is Al Davis with ovaries. And she was like, no, I'm my own person. Thank you. Thank you very much. You are.
He's me with testes. Okay.
There you go. That's what it is. Much better phrased. I like it much better. She's also, side note, been married to a man named Rob for more than 35 years. They met in law school.
Oh, wow.
He runs a hedge fund. She says he's her best friend. Fun fact, their wedding was delayed because of a Raiders game that went into overtime. She's like, I'm not going until I know who won. So they don't have children, but they do have like 2 cats and a horse. And how private she is, don't know the names of her cats or her horse, because she says even animals deserve their privacy.
Oh, yeah, they don't have time to have children. Oh, my Lord.
No, they don't have time. Also, they didn't want them, maybe. And good on them.
I mean,
do your thing.
Yeah, they can be in the south of France or in Ibiza. Right? Is that how you say it? Ibiza?
Listen, Ibiza. I don't know. Ibiza. I feel like I've seen enough 20-year-olds say Ibiza, with emphasis. So
yes, or some private island. I mean, hedge fund manager and
I know, right?
Head of the Raiders.
They can go anywhere a small country
they want to go. Yeah, they probably have a country that they go to. Yeah.
So her influence was radiated league-wide. And because she really did things the way she wanted to do them. And people keep asking her about her gender. And a quote from her that I really loved is, if I don't want you thinking about my gender, why am I thinking about it? So she is the first ever female CEO of an NFL team. She resigned. I just want to point that out. She really was the first. She resigned from the Raiders May 11th, 2013. After she resigned, she was then referred to as the glue that held the organization together. Obviously, they're still doing fine. I don't watch football. I don't know how well they're doing. Like, that is not, I didn't go.
I don't either.
I'm sure they're still, I still see the big trucks with all the stickers on it and some of the flags.
I mean,
so,
I don't know if she made them successful and held them together for that long. I hope these 10 years that she's been retired, that she is somewhere on a private island enjoying herself.
Well, I'll tell you, she's not. She is a football analyst for CBS. There's a show, We Need to Talk, which is the first ever sports TV talk show featuring an all-female cast. She also wrote a book, You Negotiate Like a Girl, Reflections on a Career in the National Football League. And, girl, she has a podcast called, I Know Like Us, We're the Same. Okay.
Yeah, we're the same.
Yeah. It's called What the Football with Susie Schuster and Amy Trask. And that is Amy Trask.
So she does not like to take a vacation, huh? That's why she's so successful.
She does not. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amy Trask. I've never, because I'm not a football person either, but I like her.
My brother, I'll say it. My brother.
Or Gib. Is it Gib? Gib. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I don't even know.
Your brother?
He is very much a football person.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, I was woken up many a Sunday morning thinking he was dying, running downstairs to save him because I knew I could. And there's the screen and him just like, I'm not going to do it because I'll blow out this microphone. It was very loud. It's very loud. Yeah. And you'd think I would learn the next week. No, I didn't. Run downstairs. I'm going to save you. Oh.
You're just watching your team get clobbered. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that, because she sounds amazing.
Right?
My kind of lady. I like the Princess of Darkness.
I did too. I was like, yes, you are Princess of Darkness. Live for you.
I want somebody to call me the Princess of Darkness.
I'm not going to, I mean, I can, but I just don't think you are.
I would consider that a compliment, honestly, because sometimes you just gotta put fear in people's heart for them to get their job done, especially when you're a woman. So
I get
it. Ain't nobody got time for you to talk. Just do what I ask.
That doesn't work in my household. I know that.
No, and you have to learn how to talk to people, but sometimes you just got to tell a motherfucker, just do what I ask.
And I think she figured what she did was figure out how to get it done, how to be respected, how, you know what I mean? She found that line, and I think she did it naturally. I think that's who she is. So that's impressive,
Yeah. Amazing. Amy Trask. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, we had two amazing women today, Amy
we did.
and Miss Coretta Scott King.
That's right.
Women who were very powerful, but people are like, oh, you're just a lady. Just a lady.
Right.
But you're more than just a lady. On that note, that wraps up the latest episode of Notorious Women podcast. Guys, remember to follow us on all the things. And also, again, like we said at the top of the show, copy the link and send it to your friend. Don't just tell them about it. You can tell them about it, but you can also tell them about it, copy the link, and send it to them. Okay?
That's right. Yes, please.
You can also subscribe and like this video. If you are viewing it on YouTube, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe to that as well. And Miriam, you can tell them where they can find... Oh, also Patreon. If you want to support us, send us some cash. Amy, if you listen, we could... We might not be able to afford an island, but if you want to hook some sisters up, you go to patreon.com/Notorious Women and leave us a one-time donation. That would be great.
Yeah,
or
I feel
can,
right, like 100,000. That's nothing for you, right?
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's just like in the bottom of your purse, right? Of your $100,000 bag. It's change. So you can send that. Yeah. And if you want to do that, you can go to patreon.com/Notorious Women. Patreon is patreon.com/Notorious Women. And Miriam, where else can they support the show and follow us?
Yeah. We're on Instagram, of course. Notorious Women Podcast. Find us there. Funny things for you. We're also on TikTok. Also some funny things for you. Like us, tell your friends. You can DM us on Instagram. And you can also email us at notoriouswmpod@gmail.com. And that is where you can find us.
Thank you so much, guys, again, for supporting the show, listening, downloading, and sharing. We really, really appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.